everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I am testing out this brand new paper here. It is called GORR A4 Premium Digital Paper. Shout out to Starfish Drawz actually, who brought this to my attention, but apparently this stuff here is supposed to be a duplicate of Express It blending card. So I've been really excited to actually try this out and see how it compares. It is actually way cheaper in comparison, so I'm excited to see what it's like and see if it holds up to the blending card, because if there's something better out there that is more affordable and basically the exact same thing, I want to tell you guys about it because it might actually help one use. So first impressions, taking it out of the packet and just rubbing the paper with my fingers, looks a bit strange, but I'm actually testing this sort of texture of the paper, just trying to see if it has the same amount of smoothness as the blending card, and to be honest, it feels almost exactly the same. Now before I actually go into a big illustration, I actually want to sort of swatch out some of my art supplies that I would normally use with this blending card and just see how it compares. I do have a very small packet of Express It blending card which I got from the Jazzy Art box, so I'm testing that out with the sort of GORR's paper as well, just to see if the blending is the same and how the colors look. And to be completely honest, it does feel exactly the same. Like, it may even work a little bit better. As you could see, the paper sort of had a bit more bleed through on the blending card compared to the sort of more affordable digital paper, and actually blending the colors and everything, it felt exactly the same, like no joke. Now using an eraser, I wanted to do a bit of an eraser test just to see how it performs, and yeah, exactly the same as well. So that was very surprising. And something even more surprising was that when I went over with my fine liners to see how they worked on it, it actually performed a lot better on the GORR's digital paper compared to the Express It blending card, which is very interesting. However, it's not crazily noticeable, but if you look really close at the lines, you couldn't really tell in the footage. It's a bit hard to see because, you know, you have to sort of get your eye up close. It actually looked quite a bit crisper on the sort of more affordable paper compared to the expensive Express It blending card. So overall, the colors looked almost exactly the same. They did have a very slight, tiny difference in texture, but it was very minimal, and only because I was trying my hardest to see if there was any sort of differences, but it's very unnoticeable. Also, the blending pretty much felt the same. I did test it with Copics as well as my Spectrum Noir markers, and they held up very well. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, yes, I am making an illustration of a dragon, as you can see. I love dragons, and yeah, so today I am making an illustration on this paper. I know the swatches can help you learn about the paper, but nothing compares to diving in and using this sort of new art supply in a full illustration to seriously test it out, because sometimes when you test it just with swatches, it's a bit of a different experience to when you're actually using it for a long time to see if you can create something finalized and complete. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why I decided to draw this dragon in particular and how I sort of came up with the idea. I was recently thinking that I wanted to draw sort of a space dragon, and I brought this up to my partner because sometimes I can get really cool ideas from him. It's kind of fun to sort of pick his brain and see what his sort of ideas on a specific approach, and so yeah, that's what I did, and we came up with something pretty epic. So basically we came up with the idea that this is a dragon that lives in space. He is a space dragon, as you can see, and he's basically like a destruction god space dragon, which it sounds pretty epic to me. And basically he flies around and he consumes everything. He consumes planets and just sort of any sort of space item stuff, you know, like comets and nebulas and galaxies. He consumes them all, and that becomes part of his body. Now, this species of dragon, there should only be sort of one in each universe. However, with the whole multiverse theory, there should be infinite creatures just like this. So this sort of dragon has occasionally come across those other dragons, and they're not very nice to each other. They like to fight because, you know, if they consume that other dragon, then they get that whole energy from them, if that makes sense. So that's why he sort of has scars all over his body from previous fights with other dragons like himself. And yeah, that was pretty much the epic sort of backstory sort of thing about this creature and why we decided to draw him. I think it's pretty cool. So as you guys know, I absolutely love space, I love galaxies, and I love doing galaxy sort of art in my sort of illustrations. It is very, very fun and pretty awesome. I actually have a whole mural with the background as a sort of space galaxy feel. So yeah, I actually decided to take out my Copic airbrush system for this because I wanted to try and test this paper with many different sort of art supplies as I could, and I cannot resist the temptation to draw and use my airbrush with a galaxy. It just works out amazingly. It just looks so cool. So yeah, so with the sort of airbrush, I actually used a few different colors this time. I used some purples and some reds and some pinks and blues, and I did my typical airbrush background, which I love doing. I masked off the dragon himself with a bit of washi tape and paper, and yeah, after peeling off that, it really does show how much the dragon sort of stands out in front of this really dark sort of galaxy background. I absolutely love it. It looks really cool. Next was time to add some stars to this galaxy, because what galaxy does not have stars? It is basically the whole makeup of the galaxy and the reason there's all these bright colors and stuff. I don't want to get too into the science, but that's how I understand it. And yeah, so stars, we are going in with my gel pen. I love this thing. It is great for doing that kind of thing. And after I got the stars down, it was finally time to color in the dragon. I decided to go in with colors of all of the planets, well, most of the planets in our solar system, because he is sort of a space dragon, and I wanted to give his body sort of elements from each planet just to give it a real sort of, you know, cosmic vibe to him. And yeah, so I started off with the patterns of Jupiter on his main body here, and as you can see, the red spot on Jupiter is on his leg just because I felt like it would fit there better. And the sort of bluey turquoisey colors on him is supposed to be for Uranus. And after that, I decided to go in with a sort of speckly red sort of pattern, obviously for Mars. And I tried to make these colors as bright and vivid as I could get them, because I really wanted them to stand off from the background as much as I could. And sort of give a little bit of a transition between each color, so it wasn't just like a sort of cut off when the patterns change. So after that, I decided to go in with some more sort of softer tan lines near his head, which would be for Saturn, and the bluish dark, like the sort of mix of dark and light blues and little highlights here and there, that was for Neptune as well. Now after that, I decided to go in with his back foot and do the patterns of Pluto, because I love Pluto. You know, people joke and say he has to be a planet, but you know, he's a dwarf planet, and he is the coolest, biggest dwarf planet, and I love Pluto. After this, I wanted to go in with the sort of frills along his back, and I decided to give that a bit more of a nebula vibe, mainly because there was a lot of planets on him, and you know, he consumes all kinds of space matter. He doesn't just eat planets, so that's why I decided to go with a nebula along his spine, and on his tail is a comet. Now, we actually joked and said, you know, maybe he consumed Halley's Comet, and I'm gonna say, yep, that's exactly what he did. After I got most of the colors down, I went through with my gel pen just to add sort of textures and highlights and sort of, you know, try and define the features just a little bit more, because I really wanted this to sort of stand out from the background and be as vibrant as it could be. And I had a lot of fun honestly doing this. It was probably one of my favorite illustrations lately to do. It was just really fun. Now, as you can see, there's two sort of round objects in this, and I wanted to do Earth and the moon. And as you can see down below, we're sort of looking from behind the moon, and you can sort of see the moon in the image a little bit. I really wanted to have the moon and the Earth in this because I don't know, I just wanted to sort of include us in the illustration as well. And so yeah, this guy, I guess his next meal is the Earth, and he's going to consume the Earth. Everyone on the Earth is going to die and become part of this majestic beast. And yeah, it's a little bit morbid, but I love dragons and space. Just combine them together just to make some awesome artwork that I really like. So I'm kind of glad I did that. The Earth was actually really fun to draw. I just did a sort of mix of blues and greens, and then after that I went with my gel pen just to do all the sort of swirly cloud effects over the top. It's one of the best Earths I've actually drawn to date, I think. Now for those scars, I had a bit of a toss-up of what I actually wanted to do for those scars, because the original idea was to have the scars be sort of the elements of the planets. However, I felt like I wanted the planets to be most of the dragon, so I decided to do the scars different parts, and I ended up going with gold paint for those, which I'm really happy with, because it just looks really cool and gives it a nice sort of a little bit of an embellishment on it. So anyways, here is the final results, and to be completely fair, this paper held up completely exactly the way that Express It blending card did. It is pretty much a duplicate as I was told, and I guess I can see the proof in front of my face. So yeah, definitely go check out GORR's premium digital paper. You can get it at Officeworks. This was not sponsored. I just really wanted to see if this paper was a really good thing, and thank you so much to Starfish Drawz for checking this out for me and letting me know, because you have saved me a lot of money. And anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun doing it, and yeah, so I hope you guys smash like, subscribe to get your scribble fix in the future, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.